everyone, it's Kara and Alexander here from the library. Today we are going to talk to you about some humorous comics. We feel with this pandemic dragging on that you guys deserve some really funny and enjoyable comics to read. So Alexander is going to start us off with Hark a Vagrant.
Yeah. So the one thing that I really like about Hark a Vagrant, and I'm going to open with this, is that you can just go to literally harkavagrant.com and read the comics right now for free. Or if you're so inclined, you can check out Kate Beaton, the author of these, does have two collections of the comic in print. One is just called Hark a Vagrant. I do not believe our collection has it, but the second book, Step Aside Pops, is available for checkout. You should get it. These are great, especially if you're already a big old librarian nerd. She loves making fun of like 18th and early 19th century literature and philosophers and history, all the stuff that, you know, is taken super seriously in school. You'll see up here on the screen, it's about Edgar Allan Poe getting a love letter from Jules Verne, who's writing it just like a 9-year-old girl laying in bed writing a love letter to Jonathan Taylor Thomas with drawings. So, but she does all sorts of just fun stuff like this. She's got Canadian stereotype comics. She's got a fat pony that shows up a whole bunch, who you guys may know from her picture book, The Princess and the Pony. These comics get shared amongst librarians constantly and have since they came out. It's a really, really good mood lifter because it doesn't take itself seriously at all. I just love it.
And it's like, I don't know, like with her, like the facial expressions, it's got that kind of, I don't want to say like simplistic drawing style, but where it's just, you know, very, you know, the like loose arms, and, you know, you can really like Edgar Allan Poe right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And her humor is really, you know, like on the nose too. Anything that you might have thought while you were like in high school lit, you know, reading some of these books.
She makes fun of everyone. We were just talking about the Bronte sisters. She makes fun of Mary Shelley. And she also uses the comics to make fun of the era. So like if she's talking about, say, Ida B. Wells and why Ida B. Wells is her personal hero, she's still making fun of the era and, you know, the very white women's suffragette movement at the time that was trying to marginalize Ida B. Wells. And, you know, she's really on the nose about pretty much everything. So,
right.
And then it is now Kara's turn. Which one are you going to start with?
I'm doing the Lumberjanes first.
Yeah, here we go.
This is it's like but somewhere between a juvenile and a teen comic. It's by Noelle Stevenson, who also wrote Nimona, which we talked about really early on in Comic Chat, and I've probably mentioned the Lumberjanes a few times in like some other videos, but I decided this time to actually focus on it. It's one of my favorite comics for teens, and basically we open with a message from the Miss Quinzella Thwiskin Pennequiquil Thistle Crumpets Camp for Hardcore Lady Types. And it's got like sort of like an introduction and also the camp pledge. So that's sort of the introduction that we get first, and then the story begins with these 5 girls who are from the same cabin, the Roanoke cabin, which should tell you something right there. And they're like looking for things in the woods, and they run into a pack of like these ravenous supernatural foxes, and they fight them off. And then like when the foxes flee, they say like, "Beware the holy kitten." And it's all very mysterious. And then they have to like quickly go back to their cabin because they're like their camp counselor is gonna like know that they're gone. And the rest of the series just follows these girls on these adventures through the woods. There's the camp leader, the adult who leads the camp. She like clearly knows something's going on, but she just kind of tells them stick together and, you know, friendship to the max. And they make these explanations like, what in the Joan Jett, and
Mhm.
other like female leaders through history, they use that too.
Oh, my
um,
Bessie Coleman.
yes, exactly. And it's just like a wholesome, funny comic. If you went to camp, I didn't even go to camp, and I love this. um, we've got the five girls. They all have like very different temperaments. And it's also like a really diverse comic in, like what it means to be a hardcore lady type. So we have like April, who is determined and optimistic. I guess you would say like she's the most girly of all of them. You've got Jo, who's calm and analytical. She's like very mathematical. Molly is a skilled archer. She's good at puzzles. And she's the one wearing the hat, which we find out later is like actually a raccoon that sits on top of her head. Um, and she's um, is in a relationship with Mal, who's more of like a cautious planner for the group. And then we have Ripley, who's my favorite. She's like the most youngest. She's the youngest. I'm a librarian. And the most energetic, and she's just kind of like the wild child stereotype. Um, and then Barney comes in later. He's not here, but he starts as a at the boy camp and then goes over to the girl camp. And I think eventually he becomes a they. So really diverse group and just like really enjoyable. And then they all sort of like bring their skills or like their personalities together to just, for better or worse, like get into trouble or get out of trouble. Anyway, that's my...
Ripley's my favorite too.
What?
Ripley's my favorite too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So actually, that transitions really well, both by saying mathematical and really fun exclamations during adventures, because my next humor comic is the graphic novel adaptations or offshoot of Adventure Time. Arguably the greatest cartoon of the past decade. Just an absolutely fun, colorful, great cartoon. If you're not familiar, I highly suggest watching and reading these. Follows Finn, right there, who's about 10, 11, 12-year-old boy, and Jake, his best friend and adopted brother, who is a dog with stretchy powers. And they go on crazy adventures and have lots of, it's just ridiculously funny. It has all the little exclamations too. So like he'll yell things like mathematical or rhombus or in this one, like, man, you dissolved my butt. Now my head is all that's left. And that looks like a butt too. Butts to this. That's pretty much how the humor in Adventure Time goes. It absolutely nails that age group. But it's fun, it's energetic, and the comic does an excellent job of capturing the spirit. They got, it's written by Ryan North, who did the dinosaur comics online, but he's done a bunch of really neat, weird books, like was it Romeo and or Juliet, which was Choose Your Own Adventure Shakespeare, was him. He has had a couple good picture books as well. But I just love what they did with this comic. It's got all the main characters. So it's got Princess Bubblegum, it's got Marceline the Vampire Queen, Lumpy Space Princess is in here. So you get lots of like nice oh my globs. The main villain in this is the Lich, who most Adventure Time fans are familiar with. You got the Ice King, of course, who's like 50 patoots. There's Lumpy Space. So yeah, they're just extremely well done. They're all on Hoopla. You can check them all out right now.
The colors are so vibrant too. I can see why. I know a lot of kids like reading these, and I can see why.
Yeah, it's extremely vibrant and just fun and expressive. Oh God, I just love these. But yeah, go check them out and read them for yourself. Quit listening to me talk about them.
I think that word expressive, like, pretty much encapsulates all of these comics that we're talking about today. That's what makes them so enjoyable.
Yeah, if you're gonna make your comic funny, you do it in the facial expressions. This is one thing that Raina Telgemeier also does extremely well. Unfortunately, she's probably a little too popular. It'd be really redundant if we talked about her. But that's the reason Smile Sisters and Drama are so good. She can do in simple facial expressions what would take like 4 paragraphs to describe.
Right.
But now one last comic, and this is also one of my favorites, but Kara's going to take over.
This one is Phoebe and Her Unicorn by Dana Simpson. Originally, this was launched as a webcomic. So I always like to see comics making it into print that were originally webcomics. And the whole premise here is that Phoebe she's a fourth grader who accidentally rescues a unicorn who has been trapped by her own reflection. The way it goes is that if a unicorn like looks into her own reflection, then she like becomes so entranced by her own beauty that she cannot look away. So that's what happens here, which gives you like.
Hey kids, guess that Greek myth, by the way.
Yeah. It gives you some idea of her personality. So this unicorn's name is Marigold Heavenly Nostrils, which, neither, Phoebe or Marigold like see the irony in that, but they're just like, that's awesome. And she offers Phoebe a reward for saving her. And after Phoebe makes several unrealistic wishes, she finally lands on, well, I want you to be my best friend. So this just follows their adventures of friendship and, kind of like the challenges of, everyday life in fourth grade. It's a real slice of life type comic. Phoebe is kind of like called weird by her classmates. And then by contrast, you have Marigold, who is like obsessed with her own beauty and considers herself like superior to everyone else. So they just make like a really humorous duo. And this is another one that's like friendship is a huge forerunner in this comic.
I use this one a lot to transition kids to Calvin and Hobbes because it's a dang near identical friendship where it's normal human kid and kind of sentient otherworldly being, whether it's a stuffed tiger that in his perception is a living tiger and has the beliefs of a tiger. In this case, Marigold often considers herself above all the junk that the human kids worry about.
Right.
She's much gentler than Hobbes ever is, but it's a good transition. Some of the jokes really land in this series.
She's very sarcastic. Mm-hmm. And I think there are some jokes here too that like parents or like adults would appreciate as well. But definitely also a very popular one for kids.
Yeah, here's a good one for showing how arrogant the unicorn is. If you need me, whisper my name to a passing dove or sing it on the summer wind. Yeah. So this is pretty much right in the wheelhouse for third, fourth grade. God, yeah, these are so good. And make the boys read it too, by the way.
Right.
Make the boys read it.
Right.
Boys should be reading books with girl main characters who have unicorns as best friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that pretty much concludes our humor comics chat for this cycle. If you guys have any comics that you have read that you think are super funny, of course, put it in the comments, please. And get cracking now because our next one's going to be creepy comics because we're just going to go ahead and start celebrating Halloween now until probably January because time means nothing. And we all need some Halloween just as we all needed some funny comics. So, start reading your creepy comics. Send us suggestions. You guys know the drill.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
See
you for
next
listening.
time.